No fancy introduction for these videos. It's the Steam Summer Sale, and people have asked me what games to recommend. So I'm going to split this into a couple of videos based on the general genre. Now note, I'm focusing on games that are on sale that you may not have seen before, or games that are on their biggest sales in their lifetime using Cheap Shark. So for this video, I'll be focusing on strategy and or puzzle games to possibly pick up during this Steam Summer Sale of 2018. First, we start a little dead from the get-go, as you could pick up the great Zombie Night Terror for 80% off, coming in at a price of $2.59. The game is basically a game of lemmings with zombies in it, as you have to manage your resources and find a way to break in and infect as many people as possible. The game's mechanics work well in unison with each other, as each new level provides a new unique challenge to deal with, and having you think creatively about your tools to get through it. The game's style also oozes old horror movie, and understands the core zombie trope enough to make fun of itself along the way. The difficulty here is about just right, and it's an absolute steal at this price. If you need more info, check out the Critical Eye review in the description below, but rest assured, if you pick up the game, you'll enjoy it from start to end. We go from zombies to aliens in our next game, with the acclaimed Defense Grid 2, which you can pick up at 75% off at $3.74. Now look, it may be a tower defense game, but it's one of the shining examples in the genre, perfecting the balance of how easy it is to get into for beginners while providing a great challenge for experienced veterans. It's also one of the games in the genre where I don't get a repetitive map vibe. Each map is strongly different and doesn't allow you to fall back on the same strategy over and over again. I love the upgrade system that's balanced just right, and frankly, this is one of the best looking tower defense games, even today. The fact that you can pick up one of the best in the genre for less than $4? Yeah, you need to take advantage of that. Right now. It may be a bit more expensive compared to the last two games, but don't let that turn you off from Big Pharma. You can pick it up for $8.49, which is 66% off its normal price. It is a slow starting game as well, as there's a lot of mechanics for you to pick up, and a lot of complexity that the game does a great job of walking you through, albeit slowly. But once you get through that, you've got a game that gives you a ton of options, both in the game and before the game starts with the modifications that you can make. You're going to get your bang for buck if you're the type of player that spends hundreds of hours in a game and want to play every possibility and challenge within it. From trying to deal with space limitations that actually do well to force you to think about your positioning, to deciding whether that side effect is worth the money to get rid of it, your mind will be engaged with Big Pharma. Just don't expect to feel better about the pharmacy industry after playing it. Okay, if you've never heard of the Master Orion series, here's the rundown. For 50% off at $2.99, you get one of the most classical 4Xs known to man. Yes, it's a very old game, and technically you could probably find a physical copy in a garage sale somewhere, but that doesn't matter. A good 4X game is a good 4X game, and I spent hours upon hours with this one as a kid. The combination of the different alien races and the wonder of searching for new planets while building up an army never got old, and this is coming from someone who didn't play a lot of this genre. The AI difficulty levels were perfect for me, allowing for a real challenge at higher ones, while not being overly oppressive for new players. I love the range system built within the game, and specifically how the game really forced you to upgrade your science and technology in most cases to really advance. I like how each race is actually unique, forcing different strategies out of you, whether to be a warmongering aggressive race or a peace-finding silver tongue race. Honestly, I could sit here and tell you about the tech trees, the space battles, and everything, but it would be a disservice for the length of each section in this list. So go and grab it while it's cheap. You'll be glad you did. I'm also a horror nut, and so seeing that there's a cute little block puzzler with a theme of classic horror movies was a shoo-in to pick up during this Steam Summer Sale in Slayaway Camp for 75% off at $224. Don't let the weird style fool you here. What you have is a smart yet simpler puzzler that focuses you to think about things rather smartly as the game progresses. The slide mechanic forces you to look at the field and figure out how to get your killer over to the victims without falling into traps or wasting moves. Granted, this isn't anything you haven't seen before in the genre, but it fits the themes rather well into horror by using the cops coming as the turn mechanic, or simple fire or hole traps within the horror universe. There's a ton of unlockables here as well, and a good length to the game as well, so if you need your puzzle fix this Steam Summer Sale, Slayaway Camp is a great way of getting it for cheap. I love card-type games with strategy elements, and at the price of 67% off for $4.94, you get one of the better ones that I've played over the last several years in Guild of Dungeoneering. The game rewards you for thinking about how to take on each dungeon and maximizing your strengths while minimizing the weaknesses against that flavor of enemy. Each deck base has an interesting strategy base surrounding it, and while I get that some players have issues with balance in the game, I don't see it. It gives you all the tools you have to adapt, and it's all about adapting. Will you lose a match or two due to RNG shenanigans? Yes, but for me, the game had that addictive quality where yes, even though I lost, I wanted to play it one more time, and unlock the next set of upgrades to try. The game is all done in a pen and paper RPG style that is cute but thematic. All in all the elements combine for a great under-the-radar gem that does the job, even if it makes you yell out once in a while in frustration. Moving on, sometimes you don't expect emotions in strategy and or puzzle games, but if you look very closely in the puzzle genre in particular, there is a ton of them. But one of the most overlooked ones over the last several years, including by myself until recently, is a game from Alan Hansen and Benjamin Davis, A Good Snowman is Hard to Build. It's a game that comes from the basic Sokoban transport puzzles and Hanoi Tower style puzzles, but in this case, you build snowmen. And it immediately hits you with feels and emotions as you connect with your little creations. The world allows you to carve your own path through the easy to more medium level difficulty puzzles that allow you to come back to puzzles that are giving you troubles. Now, like Slayaway Camp, the puzzles won't necessarily blow you away here, but really this puzzle game is all about the feels. And trust me, if you had an imaginary friend as a kid, you'll probably shed a tear here or two. Pick it up if you want to feel a little good about yourself. Or cry. One of the two. Finally, I go to one of my favorites, which is funny because the game is all sorts of depressing. This war of mine has you attempt to keep several members in a war-torn country alive in a simulation-type experience. You could pick up the game for 70% off for $5.99. And before you ask, this isn't the type of game where you will get a happy ending. You will struggle left and right to get the right amount of protection, medicine, and food for your residents while attempting to stay on the moral high ground if you can. That's in fact where the game is at its best, forcing you to think about taking on another survivor, for example. Even though they are struggling, you realize that you may not have the food or the items to keep them alive. You have to make those decisions to risk going into more dangerous areas to get more food because you're starving and desperate. It's a simple and it's a straightforward experience with a couple of ways to upgrade your house and keep the riffraff out. But it's a story experience with the simulator that works so well here, and it's definitely worth your time and money, especially for 70% off. And it's got some mods too, so yeah, pick it up. That's it for my recommendations on the strategy and puzzle genre. Next up will be a video on the roguelike and RPG genres, and there will be 8 games that I recommend as well. That should be either tomorrow or the day after next when this video comes out. Anyway, I will see you then.